Welcome back. If you watched the first video, we're going to continue on with the details of my build. If you haven't watched that first video, I would go do that. But either way, I hope you enjoy, and let's get right into it. We've just gone over the side cabinet, and it's time to move on to the bed. The bed is the part of the build that got the most questions on my first video. So I'm going to do my best to give a good explanation here and answer any questions, but please let me know if I did miss anything, if you're curious about anything else. I had a few ideas that I tried and failed, and ultimately ended up coming up with this design, which I think is exactly what I want. I wouldn't change it at all. I wouldn't change it at all. I really like it, and I may build it again someday in a different vehicle. So the bed assembly consists of three parts. We have the frame, which is stationary, the subframe, which moves, and the bed platform. Before getting into measurements and specifics of the design, I want to give an overall understanding of what's going on underneath the cushions when the bed moves up and down. So as I said, we have a stationary frame here and a subframe, which I'll add in. And I'm going to demonstrate the mechanism without the bed platform so that you can see it. So this right here would be couch mode, day mode, whatever you want to call it. It's sitting up, it's a sofa. When it is time for bed, the subframe will slide forward to right there. And going back up into daytime mode, just simply slide back. So the subframe slides. Here we can see the bed platform I made. I went and bought this, I think it's approximately half-inch plywood from Home Depot. I had them make the cuts, which I think they advertised that they charged like $1 a cut after the first one. They really didn't care. They just made as many cuts as I wanted. I probably just got a really cool guy that day. So each section is 43 3/4 wide. And about 19 long. Just like many of the other beds of this style that you'll see on YouTube, it's got 3 piano hinges there, there, and there. And I rounded off the corners kind of for fun. The front of the bed platform is actually attached to the subframe with 2 screws. So when you move the subframe, the whole bed platform will fold and slide with it. I know there's going to be a lot of measurement questions. That's why I brought the tape measure. So the subframe measures about 27 long, minus just this retainer so that the cushion doesn't slide off the front. 27 long. .35.5 wide, and these supports center to center 18 inches, and it's going to sit about 7.5 inches off the ground. Yours may vary. To support the feet of the subframe, I used shelf brackets because as this sort of slides back and forth, I know these legs would undergo some stress. So the shelf brackets have been really good for that. The shape of the frame is relatively important. It's made up of 2x4s and 2x2s. So the way I built this was I laid these runners on the ground 2x4s flat on the ground. I then attached the back brace to them, vertical, and then the 2x2s on top on the outer edges of the 2x4s, which are, I would say, the main frame rails. From there, I added this, which is a 2x4 and a 2x2 as the center support. And this center support is attached to a seat mounting point using hose clamps. I did add these blocks at the very back of where the subframe would go to. I did not want to be able to push it back any farther than like the backrest being totally bolt upright. So considering the subframe and the bed platform are actually not bolted or attached to anything on the vehicle, I did consider what would happen in the case of an accident or a rollover, and that is pretty much that they would be airborne and potentially dangerous to any occupants. So I did add this chain. This chain is mounted to the bed frame, and it has this detachable coupler, and I mounted a coinciding chain on the bed platform, which I'll show you later. So the bed platform is secured in a flexible manner to the bed frame, and then the subframe is secured to the bed platform. So everything does have a point of contact, but the chain allows for nothing to be restrictive in actually using the mechanism. I wanted the back to be able to come up to access this cargo area, for example. Obviously nothing in the front can be fixed to any sort of frame or to the vehicle itself. So that's the best I could come up with. There's probably better ideas out there. Some of these other Westfalia-style beds have different solutions for that, but this is mine, and I like it. I have reattached the bed platform so we can view this again with those four pieces in motion. There we are as a bed. And again, to grab the center, lift up, go back into daytime mode. I did add this latch. When I was originally building this, I was concerned with the bed sliding forward into bed mode while I was driving. Turns out it doesn't really do that, but this latch can lock it in place, and I could add other countersunk holes there to give it different positions. I end up using it pretty much always like this is the most comfortable backrest position, and I just leave it. It just, I've had to brake hard occasionally, as you do driving around for a whole year, and the bed hasn't slid forward. The cushions will come off, fall forward, but the bed platform doesn't slide forward in normal driving or in emergency braking situations. This will prop up the seat there so I can access the cargo area, get what I need out of there. Also wanted to give you a better view of that chain I mentioned earlier. It is now tethered. So it is the bed platform has a chain secured to it, and it's now secured to the frame so it can move as needed. It doesn't need to move far, that particular part, but it is tethered in the case of an accident. So as far as overall bed dimensions, we're going to measure right now. We have 76 inches long. Forty-six inches wide. 76 inches long by 46 wide. There is, of course, the bed platform panels are 44 wide, but there's an inch of breathing room on either side since they're moving parts, and I don't want them screeching against wood or this plastic as they're manipulated. They each side has an inch of breathing room. The cushions, however, are 47 inches wide, so they get compressed in by 1 inch, and it overall fits really well. I'll go ahead and put the cushions back in, and we'll be fully reassembled again. One caveat to the measurements of the bed, as I said, 76 inches long, 46-ish wide, is that the countertop does overhang a section of the bed. It's hard to get a good angle on this, but I do want to note that a tall person would sleep on this side and the shorter person would sleep on this side. Let's get a measurement for how much of the bed space is actually cut out here. So as far as the width of the bed, it's about 17 inches. It's about 17 inches cut out of the width at the bottom. As for the length, it looks like about 8 inches are cut out. So the total length for the shorter side of the bed is about 68, which is 5'8". That said, it's not even half the width. Again, 17 inches. 17 inches of the driver's side is only 5'8" long. On the full length section, we have 30 inches of width. I did want to talk a little bit about these cushions. This might have been my favorite part of the build, was making these. It was a little bit intimidating at first, but I saw some YouTube videos making box cushions, gave me some confidence. I already had a sewing machine from the thrift store, so I went to the fabric store and picked up this duck canvas, which is like, if you've ever touched a Carhartt jacket, it's the same kind of material, but this is in gray and it matches the gray interior of the van, which I really liked. And I went ahead and bought a queen or a full-sized mattress topper on Amazon. I cut the mattress using a bread knife into these 4 sections, and then I sewed up the cushions for them. I also incorporated zippers so that the covers can be removed and washed in the machine. And here we can see the high density foam and the soft gel So the final piece of the build was this kitchen countertop cabinet, all in one, and I'm not really sure what to say about it. I can give the measurements. I built it in a very unconventional way, which I'll tell you about. The measurements, this countertop is 26 inches deep. It is almost 32 inches long. This cutout area is, about 12 inches and about 14 inches that way. This L-shaped worktop was interesting to build. I had sort of a vision of what I wanted it to be like, and this is exactly what I wanted. It was just executing it that was kind of difficult. So what I did was I cut out the countertop. I started with the top, building from the top down. I rested it on like some cardboard boxes, made sure it's what I wanted. It was right exactly where it is, just on cardboard boxes supported. Figured out what height I wanted it at. And once I had the countertop, I flipped it upside down on the floor and started building the structure off of it. So I cut out this single piece of plywood here is another L shape, similar shape to the countertop, but it's the center support there. And then we have this piece of plywood here that's also a support, and then the angled one, which is perhaps the most difficult piece. And then, of course, the structure that holds in the fridge and the drawer was rather difficult, but it was all sort of just one foot in front of the other. Keep building, keep making mistakes, keep cutting new wood. I wish I could give you better instructions on how to build it yourself, but this was just really difficult, and I really, really like the way it came out. I have no regrets, but there's no way I could tell you like a surefire way to get this exact result yourself. I will show you how it's mounted though. First, I'll show you how high from my floor the countertop sits at 24.5 inches. This piece of wood right here is utilizing the holes that mounted the grab handle. You can kind of see on the passenger side there's a grab handle. Well, there was an identical one here that I removed. I found sort of longer screws that use the same thread pitch and size, and mounted this piece of wood. Then a shelf bracket connects the table to this piece of wood, and that gives a ton of support to this worktop. So we're in a pretty remote area right now, which is great. There's no one around, but oftentimes you find yourself in places where you want some privacy, and that's where the window covers come into play. I ordered the WeatherTech window covers, which are custom cut to fit the specific model of van. They're just really nice, really nice. I would buy them again in a heartbeat. Again, from WeatherTech. They have a shiny side and a black side, which is, the black side is actually kind of shiny as well. The idea is that in hot weather, you would want the shiny side facing outwards to reflect light and heat outside of the van. In cold weather, you have the shiny side facing inwards, which reflects your body heat and or the diesel heater heat back into the van and just keeps it really toasty. For these rear quarter windows, I actually decided to just cover the WeatherTech covers in black fabric because I knew that they would be here permanently. I'm never going to remove them on this side and this side as well. I say permanently, like this one can be removed, but what I mean is that I just never do. This one would be a little harder to remove, and again, I never do. But for the rest of the windows, I store them all behind the driver's seat, in between the driver's seat and the cabinet, and it works really great. There's a couple details that I just wanted to show off. We take a very small old dog with us when we go snowboarding, and she is blind. To realize I needed a solution for that, so I did find this ping pong net on Amazon, of course, and it can be installed sort of temporarily there as a barrier, which ended up working perfectly. The dog would bump into this and turn around like a Roomba and keep walking around the floor of the van. That was really fun. You may be wondering why I want to get rid of it. I'm building out a Chevy Express next, and the reason for that is that I wanted to carry my motorcycle, and they just don't make a hitch for the Toyota Sienna that's capable of carrying a motorcycle. I don't want to deal with a trailer. I want a hitch carrier, or to be able to carry a motorcycle inside, and unfortunately the Sienna can't do either of those things, so it's time to move on. Again, thank you very much for watching. Please let me know if there's any questions, if you have feedback, if you think this sucks. Just tell me in the comments, or with your thumbs up or thumbs down or whatever. I'm still figuring out YouTube myself, so I look forward to seeing you all again.